All right, my beautiful people, thanks so much for joining me here on this beautiful Sunday evening. Hey, Wanda, how are you? Thanks so much for joining Miss Ariel, Bivin Biggs in the house. Justin's in the house. Mr. Mathis, what's going on? Miss Gregory, thanks so much for joining. I want to say hello to everyone that may be looking on my personal page right now. ERGJ Enterprises, Club Millie, NBWS TV, New Black Wall Street, their group, Atlanta Black Business Network, Black Enterprise, and Black Business Empowerment Network as well. I want to say hello. Thank you so much for tuning in. And this is a very special night for me because I get to share with you one of the stories from my new book. And the reason why I want to do this is because I don't think that people really understand the importance of this book. And so I figured what I'll do tonight is share with you one of the stories, and hopefully be able to help you to see why it's important that we preserve this information for the next generation. I want to be clear. I didn't really write the book for you. I wrote the book for your kids. That's the reason why I wrote the book. I wrote the book because when I turned 35 years old, that's when I first heard about Black Wall Street. And I said to myself, like, how do we go through all these years of Black History Month and no one had ever said to me or told me about anything about Black wealth in this Black wealthy city? That pissed me off because I said, how does that happen in the Black community that I got to be 35 years old before I hear about a Black city that was full of wealth, where we own stuff? So that caused me to do even further study for me to be able to locate and find other things that we should know that we don't know or that we don't talk about. So then I started to run across, I believe that it's a philosophy that if you want to be wealthy, you should do what wealthy people do. I want to say hello to you, Miss Monique. Thanks so much for joining. Miss Cookie, thanks so much for joining. If you do want to interact with us, please come on over to my personal page. Sabrina, hello. Miss Lisa Marie, hello, hello, hello. And I said to myself, as a certified financial educator, I understand that if you want to be wealthy, you should do what wealthy people do. In order for you to do what wealthy people do, you have to study wealthy people. Well, guess what, guys? Whenever we study wealthy people, we're always studying wealthy people of people that don't look like us. Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Robert Kiyosaki, whoever else, right? So then I said, well, that's all fine and dandy. I think you can learn from any wealthy people, but it prompted me to say, well, who are the wealthiest people that look like us? And so, of course, we know Oprah Winfrey and we probably know Michael Jordan. But then as I began to study, everybody put in the comments below, study. As I began to study, I found out that we have 1,800 billionaires in the world today, and only 12 of them are Black. And it makes me wonder, how many of us know those 12? And if we don't know those 12, how can we teach our children about those 12? So there is where I began to say, I'm going to write this book. Study Madam C.J. Walker, fantastic. And that's a good thing to do. That would be someone in our past. So we can talk about some of the people in our past, which would be Madam C.J. Walker. We can talk about Mansa Musa. We can talk about Reginald Lewis. We can talk about Bob Johnson. These are people that were pretty wealthy. But I'm talking about right now in 2017. And that's what this book is about. This book is about people that right now in 2017 who are the wealthiest people that look like us that we don't know. Wealthy people right now that we don't know. And so that's why I wrote the book. And tonight I wanted to share a story from the book, or I wanted to share this story with you. It's something that's in the book, but it's not the story that's in the book, because the book is really supposed to be an easy read to bring awareness. Everybody put in the comments below awareness. It's supposed to bring awareness to the Black community about Black folk who are billionaires that we don't know. And we should know, because we shouldn't leave it up to someone else to tell our stories. For example, I know you guys loved Hidden Figures, but when you went to the movie theater and you watched that movie, who got paid? Who did all those millions of dollars go to that you spent to go see the movie about black folk, but how many black folk were with your money? How many black folk were compensated for the money that you spent to go see the movie? So my goal tonight is to share the story with you, and this is the story that I believe every black woman, young or old, needs to hear about this lady right here. Does anybody know who this lady is that we have up on the screen? Now, of course, we'll let you know that the Black Billionaires Club is a book that's in pre-order right now. If it's something that you decide that you want to get, you decide you want to gift to someone else, then you can do that by going to theblackbillionairesclub.com. And if you get the book before Mother's Day, it will you will get a course, a $75 class on how to buy stock for your kids included. That's through Mother's Day. So I just want to make sure I let you guys know about that in advance, that you can actually pre-order right now. So we do have goals we want to meet, but I want to share the story with you tonight. So who is this lady right here? One of the 12 richest black people in the world. And what is her story? How did she build her wealth? That's what the book is about. The Black Billionaires Club. How did they do it? Because I believe that if we know their story, then maybe, just maybe, it'll inspire that young lady who has dreams of her own. Maybe, just maybe, it'll turn someone else's life around through inspiration. Maybe, just maybe. Just maybe. You think? I want you to think about right now that young girl who's lost, hasn't found her way. And maybe she comes across a book named The Black Billionaires Club, and it changes her fortune. She gets inspired. She starts thinking differently than she's ever thought before. What could I do for her? What could that do for her? So let's get right into it again. I just want to get right into it so we can talk about this lady and why she is so special to me, because once I read her story, I knew I wanted to make sure that I conveyed it the best way I could in the book that I wrote. BlackBillionairesClub.com. Again, you get the book, and it's the $1 billion story that every black woman needs to hear. So hopefully you've already shared, because sharing is caring. There may be another woman that's connected to you that needs to hear what we're talking about tonight. So feel free to share the video or the live stream. Feel free to share with your daughters and your nieces and let them know that we're talking about black wealth. A black woman who's wealthy as well. And her name is Foloronsho Alakiza. Foloronsho Alakiza. I'm probably not saying it right, but I'm doing my best. Foloronsho Alakiza. Now, who is Miss Alakiza? I'm just going to stick to Alakiza, okay? I'm just going to make it easy. The $1 billion story every black woman needs to hear. I'll give you the synopsis first, and we'll get right into the story. So, Miss Alakiza, kind of break down who she is. She was born into a wealthy, polygamous Nigerian family. She started out her professional career in the mid-1970s as a secretary. Everybody put in the comments below, secretary. She started out as a secretary at the International Merchant Bank of Nigeria. And in the early 80s, she quit her job and went to study fashion design in England. She returned to Nigeria shortly afterwards to start Supreme Stitches. Let's go back. So she started her career as a secretary. She was inspired to quit her job and go follow her passion, which is fashion. She came back home after studying to start her business, Supreme Stitches. And it was a premium Nigerian fashion label that catered exclusively to upscale clientele, including Mariam Babangida, who was the wife of the Nigeria's former military president, Ibrahim Babangida. She leveraged on the proximity to power. She acquired an oil prospecting license, the basis of her enormous fortune today. Now, let's talk about this for a second, and we'll go into the story. That's just a summary of the story. I just want to get that to you up front, let you guys know what that is. So she started as a secretary. In other words, she just got a job at the International Bank, and it was a job that took care of her living. But then she was inspired to say, why am I just working a job and not working in my passion? So then she decided she was going to quit her job and go study abroad in England to learn fashion, which is what her passion was. And here's the moral of the story that I want you guys to understand tonight. It was in her passion that led her to her profit. Everybody put that in the comments below. Her passion led her to her profit. Now, where would she be today if she stayed working as a secretary, just living instead of pursuing her dreams? Where would she be today? Because she may not have had the opportunity to meet the president's wife, who ended up giving her the opportunity to go from fashion to oil. How many of your daughters or sons right now, when you ask them what they want to be when they grow up, they say, I want to be an oil tycoon? We got plenty that want to be athletes. We got plenty that want to be actors and entertainers. But how many of them are saying, you know what, Daddy, Mommy, when I grow up, I want to be a business owner. I want to own some oil, or whatever the case may be. Why? So now do you see, kind of get an idea why I wrote this book? Because we have to start to put the real faces of wealth in front of our children in order for them to get a different perception of what wealth really is. Wealth is way more than shooting a basketball and acting in front of a crowd. And at some point, beautiful people, we must do a better job of protecting our history, because it should make no sense that a black man in America has to go 35 years before he even hears the word Black Wall Street, let alone knows the story of Black Wall Street. It should make no sense in the world that in 2017, black folk don't even know who the richest black person in the world is. That's the reason I wrote the book. So let's go into her story a little bit more, because she actually broke it down as to what really happened in her story. So I want to be able to share that with you tonight. Not going to take a whole bunch of time, but let's go right into it. Alakiza is worth a staggering $1.73 billion, according to Forbes, making her the 4th richest person in Nigeria and the 2nd richest woman behind Isabel dos Santos. She's the vice chairman of Nigerian oil exploration company Famfa Oil, which shares a joint partnership agreement with international giants Chevron and Petrobras. With a 60% stake of Block Oil OML 127 of the Agbami field, one of Nigeria's largest deep water discoveries, Famfa Oil produces approximately 250,000 barrels of crude per day, according to Alakiza. Having just turned 65 in July, Alakiza has a lot to be thankful for. She is blessed with a dedicated husband, 4 sons, and grandchildren. Alakiza's feet are firmly on the ground, but her journey to becoming one of Forbes' 100 most powerful women in the world. Forbes' 100 most powerful women in the world. Think about this. She is now considered one of the 100 most powerful women in the world, and she started out as a secretary. She started out as a secretary. So don't tell me that wherever you are right now in your life, that is too late. Don't tell me that wherever you find yourself working out right now, that there still is not an opportunity for you to begin to follow your passion, which your passion can lead you to profit. Let's get back to the story. I'm going to try my best not to preach today. So, Forbes, one of the most powerful women in the world, began and counted 36,000 feet above sea level. Now, hear about this. Alakiza had a hard-earned oil block taken away by greedy politicians. She fought tooth and nail to get it back. And this is what this story is about. So she says here that she met a friend on a flight on her way to England. She asked me if I could help her partner to be able to lift crude oil from Nigeria. So I called around and set up an appointment with the petroleum minister, but he discouraged me. He said that there are people willing to invest in Nigeria because the government did not want to encourage more foreigners to come and lift its crude. So I asked a friend of mine who said they didn't want to invest in Nigeria, and that it was the end of that. So she said with that, the new opportunity came to an end, but her dogged determination transformed this negative conclusion into one of the most renowned success stories to come from Africa. This tenacity began in the early age. I want everybody to put in the comments below, determination. This woman came across an opportunity, but when she went to go investigate or to inquire about this opportunity, she was told no way. But we know where she is today. But in the beginning, they said no way. And she did not take no for an answer. Now, let me ask you this. How many of your children right now, your young daughters, nieces, can learn from this story right here? Or even guys, to go for what it is that you want in life and don't take no for an answer. Let's get back to the story. Because I can see, here's what happens, guys. When I go on this tour, I'm going to teach on this book to the schools, the middle schools, the high schools, the colleges, and the churches if they let me in. And my inquiry to you is to help me help them. I'm not, whether you buy the book or not, that's all fine and dandy. But at the end of the day, what I need help with is getting into these schools. What I need help with is getting into these churches. What I need help with is getting into the middle school, the high school, and the college who will be willing to listen to history in the making so that we can change the minds of our youth so they can see something different as it relates to Black wealth. I really don't care whether you want to buy the book. What I care about is if you can help me get into the school that your child attends right now. That's what I care about. Because I understand it is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men and women. So what I'm asking you to do is to help me get into your school. Tell them that there's a book coming out called the Black Billionaires Club, and I want my child and the rest of the children at this school to be exposed to it. What can we do to bring this man and his vision to your school so we can teach our children? That's what I'm asking for. I'm not asking for no money. I'm asking for an offer, a favor. I'm asking for your effort. That's what I'm asking for. Because you can overlook the opportunity to learn it yourself. But don't pass on the opportunity to allow your children to learn it. Let me say that again. You can pass on the opportunity yourself to learn about the Black billionaires of today. But my concern is, please don't pass on the opportunity to allow your children to learn it. Don't let them be 35, 40 years old before they first hear about Black Wall Street. Don't let them be 40, 50 years old before they hear about Miss Alakeisha. Thanks so much, AV. I'm going across the country. This is not, I'm not local. I'm coming everywhere. Just get me in the door. All right, let's get back to the story. All right, so she comes from a Muslim background. I want to get right to some other stuff. Talks about her background, stuff like that. All right, so the fashion business came after her stint in the corporate banking world. After qualifying as a secretary in Britain, a place where she also went to school from age 7 to 11, Alakeisha worked as an executive secretary with the bank, Siluwaja Enterprises in Lagos, for a year and a half before joining the International Merchant Bank of Nigeria. I joined them as a secretary, and I was there for about 12 years. I was promoted to other departments of the bank, including heading the corporate affairs department. From there, I moved into proper banking, working in the treasury department. I loved it because I was trading with the bank's money to make money for the bank. Later on, the bank was expanding. They started putting extra cogs between the wheels to ensure that people did not get promoted too fast to get to top positions within the bank. So I asked myself, how long will it take for me to get from a treasury officer to a general manager? How many of you guys have been in a position where you start to see all these things change in your corporate job, and they start holding people back and keeping them where they are? This is what Alakiza faced. Again, she said she began to see them starting to put extra cogs between the wheels to ensure that people did not get promoted too fast. This is called corporate politics, to get to top positions within the bank. So she asked herself, how long will it take for me to get from a treasury officer to a general manager? My question to you tonight, how long do you think it'll take for you to get to where it is that you like to go? The website, again, is theblackbillionairesclub.com, theblackbillionairesclub.com, theblackbillionairesclub.com. I'll try to type it in shorthand for you as well, sir. Thanks so much for asking. Let me put it in here. 1 second. The Black Billionaires Club. Yeah, that makes it better. The Black Billionaires Club. Yeah, hardly see that, but theblackbillionairesclub.com. All right. So Alakiza was facing some corporate issues, right? She said, well, hey, I'd like to, I want to keep moving up in the bank. This is her first job as a secretary, but then she started to see that it was going to be a ceiling. Anybody seen the glass ceiling where they're working? You see the glass ceiling, right? You got the glass ceiling. You're like, man, I don't think I'm going to be able to go through that glass ceiling. It ain't much further for me to go. I mean, they just don't want people to move up. This is what she was facing. This is her first job, right? Corporate politics. No, that's right. So then she said she quit her job and decided to study fashion design. Now, how many of you, right? I know, now here's the deal. Many of us give all of this wisdom about what you should and should not do. And I can't tell you what you should and should not do. I think you need to listen to your soul, because I think God will tell you what to do, or your inner man will tell you what to do, or the universe will tell you what to do. But in her case, she saw she wasn't going to go no further, and she wasn't going to stop growing just because the company wanted her to. Let me say that again. She decided she was not going to stop growing just because the company wanted her to. So she decided to quit and go pursue her passion, which is fashion. So she quit her job and decided to study fashion design. She enrolled in the college, American College. Now think about this. She had been working at the bank for 12 years. So she had to be probably 30 years old, 35 years old by this time. I don't know when she started working, but I'm just guessing that she was older. And she decided to go to school to start studying something she wanted to do. How many of you guys are willing to go do what you want to do? Don't you think this will be a story worth your daughter or your son hearing today? How many of you are willing to go and do what it is that you say you want to do? What are you willing to sacrifice? Alakiza was willing to sacrifice her job, which was probably paying her good. She rose up. But how many guys know this? That good is the enemy of great. Let me say that again. You might want to write that down. Go ahead and put that in the comments below. Good is the enemy of great. Too many of you are sitting idle because you got it good. Oh, the job pays me nice benefits. Oh, I get a good salary. And you're satisfied with good. And because you're satisfied or content with good, you are not allowing your opportunity for great to come into your life. And I'm just basically taking from the story. She saw something that said, hey, I'm good, but I can't go any further in this organization to great. And because I want to be great, because I see greatness in my life, I got to do something different. And she's decided to do it. Right? Thank you so much, Miss Francine. I will appreciate that. If you talk nonprofits too, yes, I will come anywhere. This is how important my people are to me. This is how important the next generation of Black brothers and sisters coming up is important to me. And I know it's just as important to you, so I appreciate that, Miss Francine. But she was willing to do something different, which in her case required her to quit her good job. And she decided to go study fashion. So she went into fashion design, right? And she enrolled in American College in London, so she studied abroad, as well as the Central School of Fashion, where she obtained a distinction. Immediately after that, Supreme Stitches was born. So she immediately, once she got out of school, she knew what she wanted to do. So it didn't take her long to start that business. Supreme Stitches was born, and Alakiza became renowned for her haute couture range. I don't know, some of y'all in fashion know what that is, which was worn by women around the world. Alakiza says divine intervention persuaded her to name her fashion business. Says she rebranded to Rose of Sharon House of Fashion because God gave her a revelation, and she changed the name overnight. That's going to be into that spiritual stuff. Let me keep moving. Then came her foray into printing. Alakiza established the Rose of Sharon Prints and Promotions, as well as digital reality prints. So she started her fashion company. And then after she started her fashion company, she renamed it from Supreme Stitches to the Rose of Sharon House of Fashion. When she renamed it, which came from an epiphany from God, she also introduced to the world her Rose of Sharon Prints and Promotions, stream number 2 and 3, and digital reality prints, stream number 4. So she went from one job her one good job that she quit to go study into her passion. And when she got into her passion, which was fashion, she finished that and started immediately. Everybody put in the comments below immediately. Everybody put in the comments below immediately. She started immediately. Immediately. There was no procrastination. There was no hesitation. She started her business immediately. Now, once she started that first business, she renamed it. God spoke to her. She listened to the voice of the Lord. She listened to the ancestors. She listened to the universe, whatever you want to call it. She listened to somebody, and somebody did not steer her wrong, because not only she did have one stream of income, she also created 3 or 4 or 5 different streams of income based off the Rose of Sharon. So then she says this: I wanted a new challenge. I was getting bored of the fashion business. The printing business did well for the first couple of years before it got into trouble. She said the Lagos state government clamped down on the printing business because billboards were clogging up the skyline. Sales were fledgling, businesses were plummeted. At some point when I went abroad, I saw printing machines and realized that those were the similar kind of machines I had been shown in a dream, but those were for offset. I went to the wrong type of printing out of disobedience and ignorance. So she realized her mistake. I misunderstood, and I was excited with a large format machines, so I didn't do too much homework into trying to find out more about the pictures that I saw in my dream. So I eventually got into the offset printing 5 years ago, and it's been a success. We started out with 30 people, and we now have about 100 employees. How many of you are listening to your dream? How many of you are listening to your dream? Right now, it's just going to be in book format. We may come out with downloadable later on. It'll be in print. How many of you are listening to your dream? So she recognized that she had her dream, but she didn't listen to the dream. She just went and did what she wanted to do because she wanted to get that thing started. But then she realized, okay, it failed. Why did it fail? And she came back to the dream and said, oh, it failed because I didn't do what I was supposed to do. She probably went the shortcut way, right? How many guys know you gonna try the shortcut? Like, man, if it's gonna get me there quicker, you might take the shortcut, but the shortcut, it could end up costing you more in the long run. But then she came across, she finally saw the printing machines that were in her dream, and she knew right then where she had made her mistake. And she fixed it. She corrected it and went ahead, and now she's 100 employees. But let's keep going. So there was a smooth transition from the fashion business into mass-produced t-shirts. So don't tell me that we don't produce t-shirts. Let me say that again. A lot of us, we design t-shirts, but I want you to know that we produce them too. And Alakeisha is a t-shirt producer, not just a t-shirt designer. So demand for monograms, screen printing, and picture transfers on t-shirts increased. The company set up 4 departments, including souvenir departments, where they imported souvenirs and gift items from China. Every entrepreneur, Alakeisha, was still on the lookout for the next big thing. Alakeisha's encounter with her friend on the flight to England was fortuitous. After her friend decided not to invest in the Nigerian oil industry, Alakeisha decided to make use of her new contact, Mariam Babangida. Mariam was the wife of Ibrahim Babangida, the former president of Nigeria under military rule. As a customer of Supreme Stitches, Mariam was able to secure another appointment for Alakeisha with the Petroleum Minister Jibril Aminu. Everybody put in the comments below strategic partnerships. The only way that Miss Alakeisha was able to get to the place where she is now, where she is an oil giant, is because she had made a connection with this lady who she actually did business with in fashion. If it wasn't for however she presented herself in this fashion business and having created this relationship with the ex-president's wife, she would have never got her second appointment with the petroleum minister, who was Mr. Aminu. How many guys feel like this would be a very good story for my daughter or my son to read, to experience, to go through how she built her wealth going through all of these different trials? It could have been easy for her to sit and say, I got a good job. Let me just sit here with my good job. And that might have been fine. Might have took care of her living, right? But it may not have taken care of her, what I call fulfillment. There's a difference. See, for me, I don't know about for you. For me, I had to make a decision in my life when I left corporate America that I wanted to be fulfilled. Everybody put fulfilled. And too many of us are dead on the job because the job does not fulfill us. And even though we are unfulfilled, we don't do something about it. Well, Alakeisha did something about it. How about you? How about you? All right, so although disappointed, Alakeisha did not give up. So I'm sorry. So she went back and told the petroleum minister that she would like to render other services like catering for the oil industry. He said there were already so many caterers on board various ships of the high seas, and as a result, there were no opportunities available. Although she was disappointed, Alakeisha did not give up. She decided to do some more homework. Everybody put in the comments below, research. She decided to find a way, and that was through research. Diligent research. After consultation with a close relative who worked for the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, she was advised to offer transportation services for the petroleum industry. It took a long time to get another meeting with Mr. Aminu. So her first inclination getting into oil, she was declined. They said, nope, it's not going to happen. Her second one, she came with the wrong offer. The offer was to cater to the oil industry. He said no. Now she's got a new idea, which is, okay, well, we're going to offer transportation services. And I don't think that any oil industry can say no to transportation. This was years. This is not months or days. This is years of her saying, this is my dream. This is what I want. This is what I want to do. The idea came on me and I couldn't shake it. I got to find a way to make this happen. It didn't happen the first time. It didn't happen the second time, but she was still trying to find a new way to get to where she wanted to go. Strategic. That's a good one. That's a good one, Justin. So she finally got another opportunity, and she wrote an official letter saying, I would like to offer transportation services to the oil sector. The minister's feedback was he didn't think it was a good idea because the government would soon be doing away with the trucks that were going to use the transferred crude oil and replace them with a lot more pipelines instead. So I said, what am I going to ask for now? He said, why don't you think of exploration? So this is the fourth idea, still trying to get into the oil industry. He said the government wants to put the resources of its lands in the hands of its nationals because it feels that it was about time that Nigerians began to exploit its own resources rather than let multinationals continue to take away our wealth. I had given up at this point. I thought he was being sarcastic and he didn't want to help all along, she said. So now she's at the point where she is almost giving up. Now she's at the point where they talk about that acres of diamond, how you keep chipping away, or that oil field or that gold mine, you keep chipping away, you finally give up, and your opportunity is right on the other side of the next dig. So she was at this point after trying from after getting shut down the first time, after coming from a catering standpoint the second time, after coming from a transportation standpoint the third time. She was like, 3 times, I'm done. And now the minister is telling her what's probably going to work for her. Now, let me ask you this. What is it that this minister saw in her at this point? I would say that he saw something called persistence. He said, this woman won't give up. And her persistence caused the man to give her the idea or tell her what will probably work. Not in her own strength, but just from her persistence, she got an idea that would make her a billionaire. This is why I continue to tell you and I continue to teach you that you do not have an income problem. What you have is an idea problem. So Alakiza cried all night. It felt as if the major door had been closed. After seeking consolation from her husband, Alakiza went to inform Miriam of the outcome of the meeting. I told her it was bad news and that petroleum minister wants to give me a heart attack. I went back to do a lot more homework and consulted with a friend of my husband who was already in the oil business. At the end of the research, I decided not to give up and officially apply for an opportunity to get an oil block. How many of our kids today are even thinking about an oil block? A commodity that is still being fought over to this day. A commodity that wars are fought over. How many of our children are even in that thinking that they could own an oil block? I think this story needs to go across the world. I think this story needs to be in every black school in America and abroad. That's just me, though. You might not think that. I don't know. But if you do, then you'll help me bring this story to your local school, your local middle school, your local high school, your local college, your local church, and your local organization where there are black folk. It's a club. All right, let's get back to the story. Before submitting her letter, Alakiza had already found her technical partners, and it was now a waiting game. To her surprise, the oil minister was replaced, and Alakiza had to restart the whole process again, the 5th time. But she kept pushing. She kept pushing. Everybody put in the comments below, keep pushing. Keep pushing. See, there are many of us who are so spiritual that will say, hey, the door was closed, I'm going to stop. But you're so spiritual, you forget the words that say, ask and you shall find. Seek and you shall, ask and you shall receive. Seek and you shall find. Knock. Now, here's the deal. It's not just ask, it's ask and keep on asking. It's seek and keep on seeking. It's knock and keep on knocking. Keep pushing. So she kept pushing. Everything seemed to be going according to plan when the second oil minister was also replaced. But the third oil minister, my goodness. At this stage, I wasn't ready to give up. The third minister finally finally wrote me a letter to tell me my application was receiving attention after 2 years. I got the letter and I cried my eyes out in frustration again at the snail's pace progress the application was making. Swaying from one military coup to another, Nigerian political climate was volatile during the 1990s. While on holiday in the Philippines, news broke out yet another change in the Nigerian regime. Alakiza's oil application was still being reviewed. I raced back to Nigeria to find that the current administration had already done the oil block allocations before they left power, and my license was waiting for me. It took 3 years of not taking no for an answer and going back each time the door was shut in my face, says Alakiza. It took 3 years of not taking no for an answer. How long are you willing to keep pushing? How long are you willing to keep pushing? She finally had her oil block. But the battle was far from over. It says this: when I was making the application, I listed several blocks. I didn't want to take a chance of someone else taking my block, so I applied for several blocks. And the one I was allocated was the one nobody wanted because it was deep offshore. Nobody was exploring deep offshore because it was too expensive to explore, and there was no technology around to explore the initial depth of 5,000 feet at the time. At first, it seemed Alakiza had drawn the short straw. She did not have the technology, the expertise, and money to start process of exploration. Alakiza, with the support of her husband, had to use their life savings to secure the license or face losing it after the government threatened to terminate the agreement and full payment was not made. It took Alakiza an additional 3 years to find new partners after her initial partners pulled out. After years of knocking on countless doors, their persistence paid off. Texaco was already in Nigeria looking to expand their business. They went into the Department of Petroleum Resources, who told them that Famfa Oil was looking for technical partners. So they linked us up. The license we had was not worth more than the paper it was written on until they came in. 5 years later, Chevron bought Texaco, including the partnership with Famfa Oil. So I'm going to stop here because there's even more to the story. And all of this is not going to be, all of this story is not going to be in the book, but it's going to lead you into more that you need to know about these Black billionaires. And I'm hoping that what I shared tonight would be a catalyst for you to do something. See, I've done the work of compiling and writing and being ready to deploy, but I need help because my goal is to get into every middle school, every high school, every college, every church, every organization where there are Black folk who want to learn about Black wealth. It's the Black Billionaires Club and how they built their wealth. How wonderful would it be if your daughter or your son heard this story? Well, guys, you can get the book or order the book. It's on pre-order now at theblackbillionairesclub.com. I thought I'd do something special and different today. I didn't really want to go through the whole, but you know what? It's not about me. It's about we. And there's more stories like this in the book. But guess what, guys? We can't say that the book isn't available. What we can say, though, is that I just wasn't interested. I didn't really want to learn about that. I didn't want to get it. I didn't want to help. It's really not that important. We can do all that stuff. Or we can do something that most people just won't do, and that's take action. Again, I'm asking for your help to get into your schools. If you get the book, that's just icing on the cake for me. But I want to make sure that your children or your grandchildren or your nieces and nephews, that they hear this story and 11 others like it. Because again, out of 1,800 billionaires in the world, only 12 of them are Black, and most of us only know 2 of them. So my question to you tonight is, will you help me help us? Will you help me help us? Well, guys, ZRGJ, certified financial educator, founder of the New Black Wall Street, and author of the Black Billionaires Club, How They Built Their Wealth. I hope that I'll be in your city and that you will be the reason why I'm in your city, sharing this information with your children or the children of your community as our goal is to go out to every middle school, high school, college, nonprofit organization, church, where there's Black folk, and teach Black folk about Black wealth. Well, I want you to remember this, that it takes a village and it starts with us. Let's build as we climb together. You guys have a good night.